may struggle with imposter syndrome, but let me tell you, there's actually some legitimate reasons for why you feel like an imposter. Let's talk about those today. The other day I was in a coaching session with a client, and we were talking about some of the legitimate sources of imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome didn't just appear out of nowhere. It is not something that just targets only you. It has a source, it has a backstory in you, and it's a legitimate reason. There's some legitimate, oh, I get it, reasons for why people feel like imposters. First and foremost, you were raised by humans. Yeah, I know I was raised by, good parents. For the most part, parents try the best to do the best with what they have. Considering there's no script, no real handbook, no secret sauce, no magic formula. It's just, kind of let's see what works. You can go by principles and guidelines, you can get help, you can get counseling, but for the most part, we're all just kind of trying to figure out this parenting thing. And we make mistakes, and our parents have made mistakes. I know that I was raised by good people, but with me, I was raised with this, Maureen, you have to be perfect. You better get good grades. You have to excel. I remember, I did. I liked school. I loved school. I did get good grades, but it became the expectation that I had to be a straight A student. I remember being in high school and getting my first C. It was an English class. Miss Cronin gave me a C, and I thought, there must be a mistake. Oh my gosh. And I asked one of my other favorite teachers to go into the office to double check to make sure that there wasn't a mistake. And he went in and he came back out and he said, no, you got a C. And I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I can't go home. My parents will kill me. I'm just going to run away. And then I thought, well, I have to go home to get the suitcase. I better just go home and face it. And I do remember my parents were so disappointed. I was disappointed because the expectation was always to be perfect, always have good grades. So that's one of the types of messages that we get as a child. We always have to excel. Now, the downside of it is as an adult, I still feel like I have to be perfect. I have to do everything well. And anything short of that can lead to those imposter feelings. So that's one of the ways. Another expectation or message that we got raised by imperfect parents and raised by humans is almost the exact opposite, where the very act of breathing is cause for celebration. Oh my gosh, you're just the perfect child and everything you do is wonderful and everybody gets the participation prize and we don't want anybody to feel bad, so we're going to, get rid of grading and judgment and we're going to level the playing field for everybody. And kids don't learn what it feels like to fail. Kids don't learn what it feels like to work hard, to excel, and to achieve. And then when they get into the real world, which isn't anything like, Little League with participation ribbons, they get into the real world and they think, wow, I failed. If I failed, then I am a failure. So that breeds imposter syndrome feelings. And then a third kind of messaging I can't even say it's expectation, but it's messaging that we get as young children is a complete lack of praise. Not just praise for doing something well and not praise for doing everything well or not, but no praise, no feedback. For kids, praise is like oxygen. And if you are raised in a place where there was no praise, for whatever reason, parents it's hard for them to praise. It's not part of their makeup or their language or their upbringing. Maybe they were absent. Maybe they were just busy. Maybe, who knows what the reasons were. But if a child doesn't receive praise, they long for it. And you know what'll happen? They'll look for praise in other ways. Even as adults, those people are constantly seeking, longing, craving feedback and praise. And if they don't get it, they will constantly feel those imposter feelings. So the messaging that we get as young people it's so influential in the level of our imposter syndrome experience. Another source of imposter syndrome that legitimizes the fact that you might feel like an imposter is anytime you feel like you look different, you think different, you dress different, maybe you even sound different. Now, this is where imposter syndrome is prevalent, and it's this messaging, this concept, this idea of overcoming imposter syndrome is so important in the world of diversity, equity, and inclusion, the DE&I world. And it's not about race, although it could be. Clearly, skin color comes into play. If you look different than everybody else, you're going to feel like you don't fit in. But it could be other areas that are different. Maybe you're a different height. Maybe you're missing a limb. Maybe you have an accent, or English isn't your first language. Anytime you look different, sound different, think different, even dress different, you are at risk for feeling out of place, feeling like an imposter. I spoke for the city of Las Vegas the other day, about a week or so ago. Now, I have lived in Las Vegas area for about 2.5 years, moved here from Cleveland, and this is so funny. Here in Las Vegas, the state of which we live in here, people on the outside, we call it Nevada, right? But people from the state call it Nevada. So it's very clear and instantaneously clear whether or not you're from the area. I've been here 2.5 years. I still struggle with saying Nevada. When I say Nevada, instantly people say, oh, she's not from here. When I was giving this talk to the city of Las Vegas and I was talking about imposter syndrome, I used that as a very real example. When I slip and say Nevada, all of a sudden I realize, oh my gosh, I don't fit in. I said the wrong word. I said the wrong pronunciation. So anytime you use different wording, another way is if you came in to your current job from another field, from another industry, where maybe the buzzwords were different, the nomenclature was different, the languaging was different. Even within the same industry, if you go from company to company, it could be different. I know that within the aerospace world where I was from, which is a general science world, the things that we said, especially within the government, where everything was a TLA, a 3-letter acronym, very specific to the government, those didn't translate to industry. So if I had to meet with people from other industries or outside of the government within industry, there was kind of a little bit of a language barrier. So anytime you think, sound, look, or dress differently than the people that you're around, you're at risk for feeling out of place. There are also certain industries that cultivate a legitimate feeling of feeling out of place, of feeling like an imposter, of feeling like you don't fit in and don't measure up. For example, industries like STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. These are fields that are very information heavy. Not only do you feel that you need to know what you need to know for your job. But the information is coming at you. It's being developed. It's being invented and uncovered and researched. There's so much coming out. You feel pressured to know everything else that's coming at you. So people in STEM often feel like they're drowning. They cannot keep their head above water. There's just too much information coming at them. People in creative fields feel similar feelings, but for a different reason. In the STEM world, the information is coming at them so fast. In the creative world, the information, the creativity must come from themselves. And not just quickly, but amazingly, like they must wow every client, every customer, every project must be just like this. They have to dig deep for that creativity. So they will constantly often feel like, I don't know, I knocked it out of the park that last assignment, but can I do it again this time? Will I be as creative? Will I be as brilliant? It hits people in in management. And I talked about this with my client the other day. And I experienced it at NASA. When I was a staff engineer, when I was a project engineer, I had my peers, right? My coworkers, my tribe, my team. We were in it to win it. We worked together well. We lived and breathed our projects. And then I was promoted into the facility manager. I was taken out of that little cocoon of familiarity and put into a position of authority and responsibility. Now, interestingly enough, the structure at NASA, I wasn't their immediate supervisor. It was a lateral upward move. I managed resources, but not people. I managed money, schedule, and things, but not people. However, they still were somewhat under my, I still had responsibility to make sure that they were doing, I had to work with their supervisor hand in hand to make sure that things got along. So there was a level, there was definitely I was up the ladder a little bit. And I remember thinking, before I took the promotion, will they still like me? How will this affect my relationship with them? And I struggled with that. Now I'm a level above them, and I had to really wonder, am I going to make a decision that will offend them? Will they be gossiping about me? Will they respect me? Will they like me? And I struggled with that for a long time. I often felt like I was in over my head. I feel like I'm going through the motions, but I'm faking it. So there could be many legitimate reasons for you to feel like an imposter. The reason I talk about that is that I need for you to understand that it's normal. When I say legitimate reasons, I mean it's okay to feel like an imposter. This is why you feel like it. It didn't just drop out of the sky. It's not an irrational, strange, unknown feeling. It's normal. It's explainable. Now, it doesn't mean that it is to be continual. And that's why going through the strategies, which I teach in my 5 strategies, my fraud-free framework, that's why it's so important to understand that you can be released. Even though there's a reason for you to feel like it, you can be released from it. So I hope you check out more of my videos so that we can continue this journey for you to overcome your imposter syndrome experience.